Have you ever stopped to ask yourself who is really running your life? Are you? Or is it your habits, your thoughts, and your routines that control you? Most people go through their days unconsciously, reacting to circumstances instead of creating them, drifting from one distraction to another, and wondering why they never feel fully alive or in control. You wake up, follow the motions, scroll, worry, work, and sleep, only to repeat it all again tomorrow. The truth is harsh. If you continue letting your unexamined habits and thoughts dictate your life, you will always feel like you are living someone else's version of reality. But there is hope, because the moment you realize that your life is a product of your daily choices, everything changes. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming control, and from that awareness, power is born. Every thought you entertain, every habit you repeat, is a vote for the life you are building. Most people underestimate how much influence these small, consistent actions have. Negative thoughts, mindless routines, and unproductive behaviors quietly shape your identity, limiting your potential and keeping you trapped in cycles of frustration and regret. But here's the liberating truth. The same brain that has been conditioned to follow old patterns is also capable of rewiring itself. Every conscious choice to think differently, to act differently, to create new routines, is a step toward mastery over your own life. Every moment spent intentionally strengthens your control, your confidence, and your ability to shape the life you want. The reward of this awareness is profound. When you see the invisible forces controlling your life, you gain the power to intervene. You realize that you are not powerless, that the small changes you make each day compound into extraordinary transformation. Imagine being able to redirect your energy from habits that drain you to habits that elevate you. Imagine thinking in ways that support growth, creativity, and resilience rather than doubt and fear. The clarity that comes from understanding your own mind and routines gives you freedom, the freedom to choose, to act, and to live with purpose. Suddenly, you are no longer a passenger in your own life. You are the driver, steering toward your goals with intentionality and direction. Taking control begins with noticing. You must observe your thoughts without judgment, identify the habits that keep you stuck, and question the routines you perform automatically. Awareness is not criticism, it is insight. It is the recognition that every moment presents an opportunity to change your trajectory. Every time you pause to notice a negative thought, to interrupt an unproductive habit, to consciously make a better choice, you are reclaiming a piece of your life. This simple but profound act sets the stage for transformation. Awareness sparks action, and action sparks momentum, creating a ripple effect that touches every part of your existence. The moment you embrace awareness, you unlock the power to reshape your life. You begin to see that change is not overwhelming or distant. It is immediate, accessible, and practical. Each thought you nurture, each habit you cultivate, each decision you make intentionally builds the foundation of a life lived on your terms. By committing to this level of consciousness and control, you are investing in freedom, fulfillment, and mastery. The emotional reward is transformative. Clarity replaces confusion, confidence replaces doubt, and action replaces passivity. The life you desire is not a dream reserved for others. It is waiting for you, shaped by the choices you make from this moment forward. Your thoughts are the architects of your habits, and your habits are the architects of your life. Every day, the brain reinforces patterns that it has repeated, strengthening neural pathways that make certain behaviors automatic. This is why small, consistent thoughts matter more than dramatic bursts of motivation. Negative thinking, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs silently shape your actions, often without you even realizing it. But the same principle works in your favor when you intentionally cultivate empowering thoughts. Each conscious choice to focus on growth, possibility, and action rewires your mind, strengthening pathways that make success more natural, more automatic, and more inevitable. The compounding effect of thought is extraordinary. A single empowering thought, repeated daily, can change the trajectory of your life. Confidence grows, resilience strengthens, and clarity emerges. Successful people understand this. They do not wait for circumstances to inspire them. They shape their thoughts to create the circumstances they desire. They know that the mind responds to what it is trained to focus on. By choosing thoughts that serve their vision, they build habits that align with their goals, and those habits eventually produce results that feel effortless but are rooted in disciplined mental work. Emotional awareness is a crucial piece of this process. Every thought carries energy and influence. When you dwell on doubt, fear, or regret, you unconsciously reinforce habits that hold you back. When you nurture optimism, determination, and self-belief, you reinforce habits that propel you forward. This is the secret of deliberate transformation. The quality of your thoughts directly shapes the quality of your actions, and the quality of your actions directly shapes your life. Understanding this connection empowers you to take control, to redirect your focus, and to act in ways that are aligned with the future you want to create. Changing your thoughts requires practice, consistency, and intention. It begins with noticing mental patterns, questioning their validity, and deliberately replacing unhelpful thoughts with constructive ones. This is not about ignoring challenges or pretending life is easy. It is about choosing perspectives that strengthen your ability to act, learn, and grow. Over time, repeated positive thinking becomes automatic. Habits form around these empowered thought patterns, creating a life built on focus, purpose, and resilience. Each small mental shift compounds into profound change, rewiring your mind and transforming your daily behavior. The emotional payoff of mastering your thoughts is immense. You gain clarity about your priorities, confidence in your decisions, and control over your emotional state. Fear and hesitation lose their grip, replaced by courage and intentional action. Every day, you feel more capable of shaping your reality, more aware of the power you hold, and more aligned with your highest potential. The life you imagine begins to materialize because your habits and actions are now working in harmony with your empowering thoughts. When you realize that thoughts lead to habits, and habits lead to results, everything shifts. You see that change is not external, it starts within. By taking control of your mental landscape, you create the foundation for deliberate, consistent action. Every thought becomes a tool, every choice an opportunity, and every habit a building block for the life you deserve. The process is simple in principle, yet transformative in practice. Change your thoughts, cultivate empowering habits, and watch as your life transforms from the inside out, moment by moment, day by day. Habits are the bridge between thoughts and results. Every action you repeat becomes automatic, forming the structure of your life without you even realizing it. Successful people know this truth deeply. They do not rely on motivation alone, because motivation is fleeting. They rely on habits, small, consistent actions repeated daily, that reinforce their identity and align with their goals. These habits are not random. They are deliberate choices designed to shape behavior, focus attention, and maximize results. Every routine, no matter how small, compounds over time, creating momentum that cannot be reversed. The psychology behind habit formation is clear. Repetition builds neural pathways, and neural pathways make behavior easier and more automatic. The more consistently you perform an action, the less conscious effort it requires, until it becomes part of who you are. This is the key to transformation. You do not need to change everything at once. You do not need sudden bursts of willpower. You need deliberate, repeated actions aligned with the person you want to become. Each microaction builds your capacity, reinforces your identity, and sets the stage for extraordinary results. You habits create leverage in every area of life. Morning routines, focused work periods, reflective journaling, exercise, and consistent learning are all examples of behaviors that build energy, clarity, and confidence. Each habit compounds silently, producing results that feel effortless in hindsight, but are rooted in disciplined repetition. Small habits repeated consistently create unstoppable momentum, transforming ordinary days into extraordinary progress. Discipline becomes effortless when habits are aligned with your identity and purpose. The emotional payoff of mastering habits is immense. When your daily actions are aligned with your intentions, life becomes predictable, manageable, and empowering. You no longer feel at the mercy of distractions or external circumstances. Instead, every choice you make reinforces your control over your life. Confidence grows because you are building results. Momentum builds because you are acting consistently. And focus sharpens because your routines support your highest priorities. This sense of control fuels motivation and reinforces the habits themselves, creating a self-sustaining cycle of progress and growth. Breaking old habits is just as important as creating new ones. Every habit that no longer serves your growth drains your time, energy, and potential. Awareness allows you to identify these destructive patterns and replace them with actions that reinforce your goals. This requires consistency, persistence, and self-reflection. Habits do not change overnight, but every small, deliberate step toward improvement compounds, eventually reshaping your behavior and transforming your life. The discomfort of change is temporary. The rewards of disciplined, empowering habits are permanent. When your habits align with your empowering thoughts, you create unstoppable momentum. Your actions, reinforced by consistent mental patterns, become automatic engines of growth and achievement. Each day you feel more capable, more focused, and more in control. Every small action compounds into significant transformation, shaping your identity, your performance, and your results. By taking deliberate control of your habits, you take deliberate control of your life. Change is no longer abstract. It becomes the natural consequence of consistent, intentional action, creating the life you were always capable of living. Breaking free from habits and thoughts that hold you back is not optional. It is essential for taking control of your life. Every habit that drains your energy, every recurring thought that reinforces doubt, fear, or limitation, quietly undermines your potential. Successful people understand that the first step to transformation is ruthless awareness. They examine their routines, question their thoughts, and identify what no longer serves them. Awareness alone is powerful, but it must be followed by action. Each time you interrupt a negative pattern and replace it with one that empowers you, you reclaim a portion of your life that was previously lost. The process requires honesty and courage. You must confront the habits that comfort you but stagnate your growth. You must recognize the thoughts that feel familiar yet confine your potential. This is uncomfortable because it challenges identity and forces change, but discomfort is the gateway to transformation. Every time you choose to act intentionally rather than react unconsciously, you build resilience, self-respect, and momentum. Each small choice to break a limiting habit or thought compounds into significant personal evolution. The brain adapts to what it is challenged to do, and consistent effort rewires patterns that once seemed unshakable. Negative habits and thoughts thrive in unstructured environments and unattended attention. Distractions, passive consumption, and avoidance feed them silently, creating cycles of procrastination, self-doubt, and stagnation. Successful people actively counter these forces by creating structures that reinforce positive behavior. They design routines, boundaries, and environments that minimize friction and temptation, giving energy and focus to high-value actions. Each intentional adjustment, each boundary set, strengthens self-control and reinforces the belief that they are the architects of their own lives. Emotionally, breaking free from destructive habits and thoughts creates liberation. You begin to feel lighter, more confident, and more capable. Self-doubt and fear lose their grip as you see tangible results from deliberate action. Momentum builds because every small victory reinforces identity and belief in your capability. The psychological reward of taking control reinforces new patterns, creating a self-sustaining cycle of growth. With each day, you feel increasingly aligned with your goals and the person you aspire to become. Replacing old patterns with empowering ones is not just about action, it is about alignment. Every habit and thought you cultivate should serve your vision and purpose. When your mind is focused, your energy is concentrated, and your actions are deliberate, life becomes predictable, manageable, and full of potential. You no longer drift aimlessly. Every choice reinforces progress, and every day contributes meaningfully to the life you are building. Small, consistent interventions in your thinking and behavior compound invisibly, creating results that feel effortless but are rooted in disciplined intentionality. Taking control over limiting habits and thoughts is the defining factor between a life lived unconsciously and a life lived intentionally. Each time you interrupt what no longer serves you, you reclaim time, energy, and power. Every thought replaced with clarity, every habit replaced with purpose, every decision aligned with growth strengthens your identity and amplifies your results. Transformation is not sudden. It is cumulative. By deliberately choosing what to think and how to act, you break free from limitation and step fully into your potential, building a life that reflects your highest vision, strength, and capability. Your environment shapes your habits, your thoughts, and ultimately the life you create. Every object, every sound, every influence in your surroundings has the power to reinforce or sabotage your progress. Successful people understand this with unwavering clarity. They do not leave their mindset or routines to chance. They arrange their space, their time, and their interactions to support their goals. The environment is not just a backdrop, it is a tool. When aligned with your intentions, it amplifies your actions, strengthens your habits, and accelerates your transformation. Distractions thrive in unstructured environments. Clutter, noise, digital interruptions, and negative influences pull your attention away from what matters most. Every moment spent reacting to these forces is a moment lost from building the life you desire. By designing your environment intentionally, you reduce friction and channel your focus toward growth. Simple adjustments, removing distractions, creating spaces for reflection, establishing routines, and surrounding yourself with inspiring influences can dramatically enhance your productivity, clarity, and emotional state. The external world becomes a mirror of the discipline and priorities you cultivate internally. Your mind responds to cues in your surroundings more than you realize. Habits are triggered by stimuli, and when those cues are aligned with your goals, success becomes easier to achieve. Morning routines become automatic, focus becomes natural, and energy is preserved for high-value actions. Conversely, chaotic or misaligned environments reinforce old habits and limiting thought patterns. Successful people meticulously curate their environment to ensure it serves them, not undermines them. They understand that by controlling the inputs around them, they control the outputs of their actions, thoughts, and energy. Emotionally, an intentional environment provides stability, motivation, and clarity. Every time you step into a space that supports your purpose, your brain recognizes opportunity rather than distraction. Your energy flows toward creation rather than reaction. Confidence grows because structure breeds predictability and action. Momentum builds because each deliberate choice compounds over time, reinforcing identity and ability. You begin to feel aligned, capable, and empowered, knowing that your surroundings actively support the life you are constructing. The payoff of a thoughtfully designed environment extends beyond productivity. It strengthens focus, reinforces positive habits, and reduces mental fatigue. Each small adjustment compounds, creating an invisible architecture that supports your growth automatically. Your environment becomes an extension of your discipline, a silent partner in your transformation. Every day, you are supported by spaces, routines, and influences that remind you of your priorities and push you toward your highest potential. By taking control of your environment, you take control of your life. Every object, every interaction, every cue can either reinforce limitation or empowerment. Successful people make conscious choices about what they allow into their space, minds, and routines, understanding that these choices multiply over time. When you align your environment with your purpose, Every thought, every habit, and every action becomes easier, more deliberate, and more powerful. The life you envision is no longer distant. It is amplified by the very space you inhabit, turning every day into an opportunity for growth, mastery, and extraordinary achievement. Transformation is not a single event. It is a daily practice, a commitment to continuous growth and relentless refinement. Every thought you nurture, every habit you cultivate, every environment you shape compounds into the life you lead. Successful people understand that control over life is not about luck, talent, or circumstance. It is about the consistent, intentional actions taken day after day. Each choice, no matter how small, contributes to a trajectory that defines identity, capability, and impact. By embracing this, you gain the ability to shape your destiny, moment by moment, decision by decision. Consistency is the engine of transformation. Small, deliberate actions repeated over time build momentum that cannot be stopped. Habits strengthen, thoughts become aligned with purpose, and discipline becomes second nature. The brain adapts to what it is repeatedly challenged to do, making mastery inevitable for those who persist. Momentum compounds silently, producing results that may seem sudden to outsiders, but are actually the culmination of persistent, intentional effort. Every day you invest in this process, you are building a life that reflects your highest potential. The emotional impact of sustained transformation is profound. Confidence grows as results accumulate. Clarity emerges as habits, thoughts, and environment align. Fear and doubt diminish because you witness firsthand the power of consistent action. Each victory reinforces identity, and each challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen resilience. When your daily practices are aligned with your goals, life becomes predictable, purposeful, and deeply empowering.